I want to give you an update on where my Spanish learning journey is. I've amassed around 1,200 hours. I'm just short of 1,200 hours. I think I'm at 1,170. And so my learning this week has broken through my slump, and I'm at I think a different level. I started doing more online classes. I had 5 hours at the volunteer nonprofit that I volunteer at, and I've started doing flashcards. So let me run you through all those things that I've done. So I think one of the more interesting things that I did for the first time this week was start to do a conversation-only class with Baselang. And what this meant is I just signed up and I clicked the conversation button, and for 30 minutes just had a plain conversation with an instructor, and it was just wonderful. I've been avoiding this for some time. I've feared that somehow I might get bored or stuck or, I don't know, intimidated, I think. But it went really well. It was so relaxing and so wonderful. And I highly recommend everybody try to do a class that you're just having a conversation. I think what I'm probably most excited about working with this is that I want to try to just make friends. And since I have a trip to Mexico coming up in 2 weeks, I want to get natural at just introducing myself, asking some questions about the other person, and that sort of thing. So I think that has been a big step in what's made me interested in learning Spanish again and breaking through this slump that I think I was in. The next thing that I did this week that was different than what I've done in the past is started using flashcards. There are a set of flashcards that come with Baselang, and I've found those very helpful to review or reinforce vocabulary when I'm doing sessions with electives and things like things that I've got to memorize new words. So I amassed a giant set of flashcards that I'm going through right now. There's 1,500 words in this flashcard set. So it's a lot, but I think it's going to be helpful for me. But I'm working my way through simple past, past imperfect, and present perfect. So hablé, hablaba, and he hablado. So basically, I made Google Gemini come up with the 100 verbs that are most used in the Spanish language. And then I had it conjugate all those verbs, put it into a format on a spreadsheet, and then import it into Brainscape, which is the flashcard system that I'm using. Brainscape has a spaced repetition system, so as I'm going through this, I have a scale of 1 to 5 on how well I remember the verb when it comes in front of me. And so I'm starting with 1 means I don't remember that word at all, and 5 is I've got that committed to memory. So that's what I'm doing is when they're 5s, I won't see those verbs again for quite some time. But if they're 1s that I don't remember very well, they will serve them up to me more often and try to see if I can progress and begin to remember those ones. So the spaced repetition program, I think, is one of those keys that's going to get me to the next level of fluency. So I'm working my way through the flashcards. 1,500 is going to take me about 3 hours to get through all of them. So I'm just taking my time and working my way through them. I went to Open Heartland, which is the nonprofit that I volunteer for, and had some conversations there and tried to use some different verbs that I wouldn't normally use and tried to have some deeper conversations with people that will kind of stretch my ability to have fluent conversations. I will add that I just came off a night shift and I was tired, so I didn't have as much energy as I normally would during a shift there. And so 5 hours later when I was left, I was done speaking Spanish for that day. But overall, I think it's going really well, and my conversations with native speakers there is working out well. So I'm happy with the ability that I have to communicate when I'm at the nonprofit. I took and passed my level 6 test with Baselang. I got 88%, so I'm very excited about that. That's a big W for me. Level 7 wasn't as hard as or level 6 was not as hard as level 5 was. There wasn't as many new concepts that was being introduced, and there was a little bit more mix and match on the past verb choices that I wasn't struggling with as much. So I saw big progress. Very happy that I did well on that test. So I had 3 success stories this week. Number 1 is I had a patient that only spoke Spanish, and I was able to have a conversation with the family. Now, the family also spoke English, and they're really good translators, but I think they were more comfortable because they knew I could understand what they were saying. So I was able to collect allergies, medications, past medical history, and an assessment of where the pains and those sorts of things were, and create kind of a care plan and express that to the patient of what we were going to do. My second success this week was at Open Heartland, where I was having conversations with my friends there, the other volunteers that only speak Spanish. Well, they don't only speak Spanish, but they focus on trying to help me with my Spanish. And as I was saying things to them, I was catching things that I was doing wrong and then able to correct them right away before they corrected me. And they're too kind, so they're not going to correct, but they know what I was trying to say. But they were, once I had the correction out, they're like, yes, that was the right way to say that. My third success builder was during my conversation class on Baselang. And it's easy for me to introduce myself, talk about being a paramedic, but there were some questions and answers about my career because I've been a paramedic for 30 years, so I could talk about how things were when I started as a paramedic, and things like we didn't have computers or telephones or things like that. And so I was able to use past imperfect tense, pasado imperfecto, to express things that were different when I started in my job. And I was able to use some simple past to talk about how my shift went the night before. And so all that's kind of expanding the levels of conversation, the depths of conversations that I can have with my friends now that I'm having these conversations with. Sorry, I had to come inside because we had some calls and now it's dark outside, but it was beautiful when I was out there. My trip to Mexico is in just 2 weeks, and I'm pretty excited. I've got my hotels set up. I'm starting to reach out some different places that I want to try while I'm there. I'm ready to test my Spanish and have a good time while I'm there. Am I ready? I don't know yet. We'll find out. There's some logistics that I have to go through for transport and buying tickets and checking into my hotel, but I think my Spanish will be up to par to be able to communicate while I'm there. My other test is I want to get some video of me trying to talk with native speakers in Mexico, in country, and see where my conversations lead me and see how well I can test my Spanish. I hope you'll come along for the ride. I want you to see how I do. So make sure you tune in to future videos. As always, if you see some things in your Spanish journey that have helped you, put a comment below. Like and subscribe to find out more updates for Mexico Travel Diaries.